Spring is in the air, and today I'm creating soft, romantic DIY decor using Sonnet Makers Box for January 2026. This beautiful box is filled with roses, light pinks, pops of fuchsia, and a hint of mint green, making it perfect for transitioning your home decor from Valentine's Day into early spring. I love having supplies that carry us through multiple seasons, and in this video, I will show you how I do just that. I'm Cindy, my husband is Chris. Welcome to CNC DIY Factory. In this project, I am taking a cement bird from my stash that I bought at Dollar General, and I'm going to be giving it a makeover. I'm starting with the DIY paint in White Swan, and I will apply 2 coats for full coverage. While the paint is drying, I am taking this beautiful napkin that was included in the maker's box and using a little bit of the liquid patina on my fingers, I will separate the plies of the napkin. Then I'll tear out some of the roses in the pattern, being sure to remove any of the pink border. When I have enough pieces for my project, I'll set the remaining napkin aside for another project. Then I'll apply a thin layer of liquid patina on the area of the bird where I want to place a piece of the napkin. Using a soft paintbrush, I will gently smooth down the napkin one section at a time, adding a little more liquid patina to help smooth out any wrinkles. When working with napkins for decoupage, it's important to have a light hand so as not to tear the napkin. And once I have this piece adhered, I could have stopped here and it would be beautiful. But I'm going to keep going and cover the entire bird with these pieces of the napkin. And this is what the bird looks like completely covered in the roses from the napkin. Tell me, which would you prefer, the big piece on the back of the bird or the entire bird in roses? I want to add a distressed vintage feel to the bird, so I'm using the DIY clear wax all over the bird, and then I'll follow that up with the Howard's Chalk Teak Wax in dark. Then I'll wipe off all the excess wax with a lint-free towel, leaving behind some of the dark wax in the carvings of the bird. Let me know in the comments, do you like the clean, crisp look or the distressed vintage look? If you prefer the clean, crisp look, you would simply omit the wax and apply a clear top coat to finish the bird. Either way, I think she turned out really nice and would look great in an early spring vignette. In this project, I'm using a wooden bowl that I thrifted. Now this has a raised painting on the inside and is missing the legs, but that's okay. I'll take it out to our shop. I'll fill in the holes with some Bondo and give the entire bowl a good sanding. After wiping the bowl down to remove all the sanding dust, I will apply 1 coat of shellac using a foam brush. Now this will seal the wood and even out the porosity of the bowl, so there will be no bleed through or color differences in this piece. Now I could have used the shellac that comes in a spray can, but I ran out, so you could definitely spray seal this bowl if you prefer. Now the paint I chose for this bowl is this gorgeous color Trellis Rose by Sweet Pickins Milk Paint from their bespoke line that was in the maker's box. If only one color could describe shabby chic, I think this would be it. Milk paint is mixed in a 1-to-1 ratio with water, so I put 2 scoops of paint and 2 scoops of water, then mix this up really well and set it aside for about 10 minutes to thicken up. Now I'm trying this beeswax bar by Sweet Pickins for the first time. I purchased this from Connie at the Painted Photographer if you want to give it a try. This product, when applied to the surface of your project, will create a resist so the paint won't stick in that area. I'm applying it randomly around the bowl before applying the paint. You could also apply it between coats of paint for the layered look. I'll start on the outside of the bowl and apply 2 coats of the milk paint for full coverage. Now the first coat is always a little streaky, so don't let that worry you if you are new to using milk paint. I like to use a heat gun between coats to speed dry the milk paint. I think it really helps create the crackle and crazing effect that I love, but you would not have to do that. You could let it dry on its own too. So this is the second coat, and you can definitely see a difference in the coverage. And here I am using a heat gun to speed dry the milk paint, and can you see that crackle and crazing going on? After the outside of the bowl has had the 2 coats of milk paint, I'll apply 2 coats to the inside, following the same process. Now let's see if the beeswax creates a resist for the paint. Well, it looks like it's working. Can you see the wood peeking through the paint after 1 coat? Let's see if it'll still be there after drying it and then applying a second coat of paint. Okay, here comes the second coat. Will it cover it, or will the beeswax continue to resist the paint? Oh, it looks like it covered it, but let's finish drying this and then we'll give it a good sanding and see where we stand. I am using a 220 sanding sponge that is well used just to smooth the paint and give it a silky smooth finish. Well, after sanding and now wiping off the sanding dust, it looks like we have chip off. Yay! And the crowd goes wild. Sorry, the milk paint just brings it out of me. Now, to give this beautiful chippy bowl a romantic feel that will go straight into early spring, I am using a couple of transfers from the IOD Rose Botanical Transfer Set. It's very important that you wipe off all of the sanding dust so the transfer will adhere to the paint. Otherwise, you may have a bit of a struggle getting the transfer to release from the carrier sheet. I seem to have wiped off the dust very well because the transfer is releasing beautifully. All I need to do is rub it with my fingernails. I love it when a plan comes together. That is beautiful. Now I'm going to add a little typography from the same transfer set for just a little something something. Milk paint must be sealed or it can be reactivated. Any type of top coat or wax will work, but my favorite is the Sweet Pickens oil wax in dark. This is easy to apply with an old chip brush that I have designated just for this oil wax. Otherwise, it could gunk up your good brushes. Once applied, let the wax soak in for about 10 minutes and then wipe off the excess. I like to wear gloves and have an extra lint-free towel in my hand so I don't leave any fingerprints in the wax as I'm wiping off the excess. Well, I love how the outside of the bowl turned out. Now I'm excited to see how the inside looks. Wow! Have I told you lately that I love milk paint? and the beeswax bar did not disappoint. This is probably my favorite project to date. Let me know what you think of this bowl. In this project, I am using a CNC DIY Factory unfinished wood tag with scallop top. These come in a set of 3 and I am using 2 sets. They can be found on our website at cncdiyfactory.com. To prep these, I am applying 1 coat of DIY White Swan paint to one side of each tag. For one of the tags, I want to use the exclusive recycled decoupage paper called Faded Rose Cloth. And for the other 5 tags, I am using all 5 of the papers from Sonnet's digital press for January called An Ode to Roses. These were all in an 8.5 by 11 size prints, but I shrunk them down before printing them to fit my tags. To decoupage the recycled paper, I am using DIY liquid patina. I'm laying down an even layer of the patina that I'm spritzing my paper to relax the fibers, then smoothing it down with my paintbrush to work out any wrinkles or air bubbles. For the digital press prints, I printed these on rice paper, and my go-to for the heavier papers is the Fusion Decoupage and Transfer Gel. I'll follow the same process as before, but I will omit spritzing my paper because I find when using the gel on flat surfaces, it is not as necessary. Once all of the tags are completely dry, I will use my finger sander and sand off the excess paper around each tag, leaving a smooth, crisp edge. Then, to clean up the paper around the hole in the top of each tag, I'll poke a sharp point through it and then use a rolled up piece of sandpaper to sand off the excess paper around the inside of the hole. I love to have options, and these tags make it easy to have 2 options for your decor. On the back side of each tag, I am using the DIY paint in Kissing Booth. This was in the Makers Box, and I will apply 1 good coat of paint, adding a spritz of water to help the paint glide smoothly across the surface. Once the paint is dry, I am using the IOD Waltz stamp and the IOD Black ink, and I'm stamping this beautiful music sheet across 3 of the tags at the same time. I'll do this for both sets of tags for a quick and easy application. When stamping, you'll want to hold one hand still and use the other hand to gently press the stamp onto the surface. This will keep the stamp from shifting. Then you'll lift the stamp straight up and off your project for a beautiful impression. To give these a bit of a distressed look, I'm using my finger sander to lightly sand over the paint and stamp. You could use a wet towel to distress as well to keep from having such a mess with the sanding dust. They both are good, but they offer different looks, so it depends on the look you are wanting as to which one to use. I think these need a little more distress, so I pulled out my IOD Vintage Textures Crackle Stamp and the IOD Stone Gray ink. I will add just bits of the stamp randomly all over the tags. Now that I have the backgrounds ready, I am adding different roses selected from the IOD Katharina transfer set. Transfers are a quick and easy way to add romance to any project, and IOD has some of the best options available. If you find a piece that does not transfer the first time, just lay it back down and rub over it and it will release. To give these tags a bit of shading, I am using the Tim Holtz Distress Ink in Vintage Photo and a makeup applicator from Amazon. I will apply the ink to the edges and corners mostly, with just a little bit added around the roses for good measure. I'll add the same ink to the other side of each of the tags to give them that vintage feel. Once the ink has had time to dry, then I will apply one coat of Wise Owl varnish in matte to seal in the DIY paint as well as the transfers. To finish off these tags and really give them that romantic feel, I chose several different ribbons and yarns to complement the images of each of the tags. I cut the strips to about 14 inches long and layered them one on top of the other using my super secret tool, a dental flosser for braces. I will thread the ribbons and yarn through the hole at the top of the tag only so far as to create a loop. Then pushing my finger and thumb through the loop, I will grab the tail end and pull that through the loop. I will work slowly so as not to break any of the yarn or ribbon and pull them tight, then arrange them how I want them. Finally, I will trim off the ends to the preferred length. These tags are the perfect pop of vintage and romance, especially for the shabby chic decor, and they transition beautifully from Valentine's right into early spring. Let me know in the comments if you use tags in your home decor. In this project, I am taking a thrifted riser with a broken leg and transforming it from boring and broken to beautiful and bold. But first, I need to sand off the stamp on the bottom using my finger sander and a 220 grit sandpaper. Next, I'll use Tite Bond Quick and Thick to glue the leg back into place, and once this is set, I can start the transformation. Sonnet Makers boxes are carefully curated every month to ensure all of the exclusive decoupage and rice papers work together alongside each of the paint colors chosen. For this project, I am using the second DIY color in the Makers Box, Mint Chip. I will paint the underside of the riser along with the tops of the legs with one coat of this beautiful color, which is perfect for the transition into early spring decor. Now, to give this riser a little pop of color, I chose to use the first DIY color in the Makers Box. This is Kissing Booth, and I want this to go around the edge of the riser. The contrast between these two colors definitely holds that bold factor. The bottom portion of the legs need a little refreshing, so I taped off where the mint chip met the black to try to create a crisp line between the colors. I am using the DIY little black dress. And finally, for the top of the riser, I am using DIY White Swan. And once we have all of this painting done, we can move on to the fun part. I had mentioned that Sonnet curates exclusive papers for the Makers Box, and Connie at the Painted Photographer creates 2 of them. They are hand-drawn and painted art printed on rice paper specifically for the Makers Box every month. This paper is called Rose Garden, and it has a mix of the mint chip and the kissing booth, and it will be the exact element needed to pull these colors together for that beautiful, bold look. To decoupage this rice paper to the top of the riser, I am using the Fusion Decoupage and Transfer Gel. The thick gel works perfectly with these thicker papers. I will lay down an even layer of the gel, and then using my paintbrush, I'll smooth the rice paper down, adding more gel over the top to seal and fully secure the paper to the surface. I will work in sections until I have the entire area decoupaged. In order to keep the rice paper from curling or pulling up around the curve of this riser, I will trim off the excess and save that for another project. And once the paper is completely dry, I will use my finger sander and sand off the excess paper, leaving a crisp, clean line. DIY paint is clay-based and therefore needs to be sealed, or it can be reactivated with moisture. You can use any type of top coat, spray sealer, or a wax. I am using DIY clear wax over the entire piece, and then I'm following it up with the Howard's Chalk Teak Wax in dark. Then I will wipe off the excess with a lint-free towel. Now, sometimes when you apply the clear wax first, the dark wax grabs hold and is darker than what you might want. All you have to do is take a little bit of the clear wax on your towel and use it as an eraser. Amazing how that takes the darkness away. I will continue to add the clear wax around the edge and over the top of the riser, and follow up with the dark wax, wiping off the excess with my towel. So we went from broken and boring to bold and beautiful. This riser is now a statement piece. For this project, I am using a farmhouse style maker's frame from our CNC DIY Factory website. I designed these frames to have the backer board separate from the frame for ease of creating. These are handmade right here in our shop and are offered as a single frame or as a bundle of 5 frames of the same size at a discount. I am painting the entire frame and the back side of the backer board with one coat of the DIY little black dress. These frames are made from raw wood and are 1 inch thick. They can be painted or stained any color you choose to work with your decor. Once the paint has completely dried, I will use my finger sander and a well-used 220 grit sandpaper, and I'll smooth down the paint and add some distressing. I want some of the wood grain to show through on this. Now, because it is DIY paint, you could use a damp towel and wet distress this and avoid all the sanding, dusty mess, but the sanding leaves a different finished look than the wet distressing, and that is what I am going for. As always, the DIY paint needs to be sealed. I am using the Waverly Antiquing Wax and a wet wipe to apply it to the entire frame and the back of the backer board. This will seal the paint, and it will also bring out all that wood grain that came through with the sanding. So sometimes the mess is worth it. Just look at the colors coming through now. Once I have this wax applied, it just needs some time to dry, and it is done. For this next part of the project, I am using this wood bunny cutout that I bought from the Target Dollar Spot. I will apply 1 coat of the DIY White Swan to the front of the cutout and let that dry. Next, I am using the IOD Kindest Regards stamp and the black ink. I will ink up the entire stamp, making sure I have a nice even coating of the ink. Then I will line up the stamp over my bunny and commit. Once the stamp touches the paint, you do not want to move it or it will smudge. I hold the stamp with one hand and I use my other hand to gently press the stamp onto the surface for a clear impression. Then I lift the stamp straight up off the surface and I will fill in the rest of the bunny for a complete look. To give the bunny some dimension and to tie it into the whole look that I am going for, I will use the Fusion Rosewater paint that was in the Maker's Box, and I'll paint the entire edge around the bunny. We talked about the 2 exclusive papers from the Painted Photographer, but we haven't said much about the 2 exclusive papers from Roycycled Treasures. Royce creates 2 large-sized decoupage papers every month just for Sonnet's Makers Box, and this month she created 2 papers with a burlap-looking background and soft pink roses. This paper is called English Rose Ticking, and it is gorgeous. I cut out a piece of the decoupage paper to fit around the bunny, and I am using DIY liquid patina to decoupage this paper to the front of the bunny. I apply a thin coat of the patina and spritz my paper, then using my paintbrush and some more of the patina, I smooth down the paper, making sure there are no wrinkles or air bubbles. Around the curves of the bunny, I will use my scissors and I'll cut in some relief cuts to keep the paper from curling up and pulling away from the edges as it dries. Once the paper is completely dry, I will use my finger sander and sand off the excess paper to leave a clean, crisp edge. Using the same rosewater paint and a stencil brush, I will dry brush some paint just on the very edge all the way around the bunny. I really like this look and I feel it adds dimension and it gives a finished look to the piece. Now to work on the background. This is the front of the backer board that we just applied the little black dress and the Waverly Antiquing Wax to the back side. I am using the second fusion paint color that was in this month's Maker's Box called Tapestry, and I will apply 1 good coat to the entire front side of this backer board. I enjoy adding stencils to my pieces, and this one is no exception. I am using the Essential Stencil of the Month Club Premium Set from December 2025. This is called Seasonal Orders and Sayings, and I will use the same rosewater paint and a stencil brush to apply this to the upper left corner of the backer board. Now I need a little bit more added to the backer board to really make this piece pop, so I will also be using the Essential Stencil Vintage Flourish Corners Stencil. One tip to getting clean, crisp lines while stenciling is to offload the paint from your brush onto a lint-free towel until the brush is almost dry. I like to use a swirling motion to apply the paint, but another technique is to pounce the brush over the stencil. Now either way works, it just depends on your preference. Well, I think that looks beautiful, but before I continue, I will use a sanding sponge and lightly sand over the entire surface just to smooth it out a little bit and to knock off the raised edges of the stencil. Well, I think this frame is going to be perfect for this piece, so I will go ahead and secure the backer board into the frame using a tool called a frame tacker. This shoots a point into the frame and holds the backer into the frame. It's easy to use, just like a stapler. To adhere the bunny to the backer board, I am using a combination of Type Bond Quick and Thick in the center and the Stick Fast CA glue in the thick formula around the edge. The CA glue will have a fast, secure hold, allowing the Type Bond time to dry. And now we have the full transition into the early spring season. I really love the soft pink colors in this Maker's Box this month. Thank you so much for spending some of your time with me while I create. I hope I have given you some ideas, tips, and techniques that you could try in your next creative project. I'll have the links below to the CNC DIY factory items that I used in this video, along with the details on how you can skip the wait list and get your own Sonnet Makers Box shipped to your door every month so you can create right along with us. If you found this video enjoyable and inspiring, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Keep practicing random acts of crafting, and I'll see you in the next DIY.